Hi everyone, my name is Jasmine and I'm the lighting designer for Borderline. First, a little bit about me. I studied lighting design at WAAPA, the Western Australian Academy of Performing Arts, from 2016 to 2018 and graduated with a bachelor's degree in 2019 after completing my secondment at QPAC, the Queensland Performing Arts Centre. I've designed shows in a number of genres, ranging from theatre to classical and contemporary dance. My favourite would be small to medium sized theatre because of the intimacy of the audience and the diverse nature of independent theatre. Now, as a lighting designer, I usually become engaged in a project that already has a planned outcome, and my design is used as a tool to help convey the piece to the audience. The script's already been written, the director and cast are already working on that piece. In reality, that's it. That's a show. What I do though, through the lighting, can add real atmosphere and inform directive choices that are made on stage. Lighting design is a bit of a tricky art because most of the time no one really gets to see what your design will actually look like until you've already put the hard work into hanging, focusing, and programming the lights. So you learn to be a really good creative communicator. This communication happens throughout the whole process, from the initial design meetings where we discuss the main aesthetic that each party would like to explore, to grabbing a coffee and chatting about an idea that came to you in a dream, or even right up to opening night. You might have a chat with one of the participants and think, maybe if this thing happens a fraction slower. These are things that can shape the tone and feeling of a show and give meaning to moments that perhaps were lacking. So, there are two main characteristics of basic lighting design that I'd like to talk to you about. The first being some colour theory. Colour plays a super important role in the world in which we live. It can sway thinking, change actions, and cause reactions. It can irritate or soothe the eyes, literally raise your blood pressure or suppress your appetite. There's a reason stop signs are red. Our ancestors saw the colour of blood and fire and its connection to danger and violence and pain. Many animals and plants use red markings to ward off potential predators and advertise their danger. Red's also a colour of extreme emotion, like lust and passion, and love and hate. Blue is almost the opposite, calm and serene, mostly associated with the ocean and sky, the colour of wisdom that was adopted by ancient Greece in the rise of philosophy and academics. It's seen as stable, reliable, inspirational. Depending on its tone, it can tell us the difference between night and day. Green instills a sense of freshness and life, regrowth and nature. Its abundance in our natural environment makes us feel safe. Again, if the tone's a bit darker, it can now symbolize money and greed, and sometimes sickness, although these are quite modern associations to the colour. Purple is the colour of royalty and luxury. The difficulty to create the pigment in the days of kings made it a sought after fashion, seen only to be worn by the wealthy nobility. Its connection to royalty and subsequently power then morphed into a connection with spirituality and godliness. All of this, however, is subject to cultural context. For example, red is the colour of luck and good fortune to many Asian cultures, so it's good to keep that in mind. Now, I'd just like to show you some shots from shows that I've designed and talked about the colour that we see in them. These first two are from Arabian Nights. The first image is warm, and the lighter colour on the old woman's face draws our eye. The actor is also looking directly into the source, which means that their face catches all of the light and makes them look almost prophetic. And in the second shot, there's another two actors standing in the exact same place as the first two. They're bathed in a rich violet blue, creating a romantic and luxurious nighttime feel. The lighter colour on the back of the bride is representative of the moon. This shot is from Verge, a classical and contemporary dance show. We see two dancers in the foreground in a contrasting mix of hot and cold colours. The dancer in the back is saturated in the hot colour, which gives them a sense of burning desire and longing to be involved in the action in the fore. And finally, we have some shots from A Streetcar Named Desire. Here, the changes are very subtle, but more than enough to change the feeling of the scenes. The first shot is almost warm, like a daytime living room. A bit of sunlight from a window, the light bulb in the ceiling. A pretty natural feel. The second shot is quite cold and stark. It feels washed out and devoid of life and quite alienating. I did that to contrast the height of emotion in the next part of that scene, which anyone familiar with the text will know what I'm talking about. So that's a pretty quick rundown on some basic colour theory and some examples of mine that might be able to help you create something in the future. Now, the second thing I wanted to talk to you about, light, and more so, shadow. There are three types of shadows when it comes to design: static, external, and internal. And each are important and can be used to communicate different things. Let's start with static. These are the shadows cast by static objects like a building or a tree, where the light source is also mostly static, like the sun. On stage, this might translate to a light shining through a set window or stairs and casting shadows across the stage or walls. While the shadows themselves don't move, if an actor were to pass through them, it can create an illusion of depth and movement. Knowing that a lighting designer, you are able to play with how light interacts with the set can really open up doors for new visual effects. Here's a few shots from the set of A Streetcar Named Desire. We can see light pouring through the shutters on the window and falling down the spiral staircase. External shadows are your shadows, the ones attached to you. It moves as you do. It can give the audience information without saying anything. For example, if the light source is directly above you, your shadow will just be a little circle on the ground. It'd be like the midday sun when the sun's in the middle of the sky. Alternatively, if the light source is at a lower angle, you'll cast long shadows, like a sunrise or sunset. So external shadows are great for communicating time of day. And lastly, internal shadows. These are the shadows cast by our own features. Under the brow, next to and under the nose, under the chin, even your lips and the veins in your neck can cast these shadows. Internal shadows are really fun to play with because they can alter the appearance of people. These shadows are really what help us to identify each other and see, yes, you are a human like me. This last shot is also from Verge, and we can clearly see the internal shadows cast on these dancers. The lines on the neck and down the torso and along the muscles in the arms really give beautiful depth into this image and define a lot of the performer. This leads us into a little activity. All you need for this is a torch or a handheld light of some kind, a dark room and a mirror. What you do is sit in front of the mirror in the dark with the light on and shine it on your face on different angles. Simple enough. The fun part now is choosing a few angles to focus on and really have a look at the shapes that are being created by your internal shadows. These will now be your characters. After you've had a think about these characters, write a little something about them. Are they good or bad? Human or demon? If you're up to it, write a small scene where these characters interact. You could act it out as a single performer using the light to differentiate characters, or as a group and you each use a different angle. I hope you've all learnt a little something today, and I'm really excited to see what you all create, and I hope you found this interesting. I can't wait to see you all in a theatre sometime soon.